All right, guys, it's time for another Perkins Crew trip. This time we're headed to Charlotte, North Carolina to the BS and Beer High Performance Building Symposium with speakers Steve Basic, Jake Bruton, Kudo Uno, and Ross Trethway. These guys are all experts in their field, of course, but we're going to give you guys our 2 cents about what they have to say about building. And the symposium was sponsored by some of the companies that we work with closely, like Sashco and Huber, so make sure to check those guys out if you haven't already. We've just arrived in Charlotte at our hotel for the BS and Beer Building Science Symposium, like a high-performance building science.
I've been trying to figure out what is a symposium.
I know what the BS stands for, building science.
Oh,
and the beer stands for beer.
Perfect. We're in the right place then, boys.
Just be careful what you text. Make sure you spell that one right if you text it in for parking, because you might get another reply, guys.
That was the best trip we've ever been on.
So we're going to get on in here. Our first activity here is a boat ride, like a dinner cruise on a ship on Lake Norman. We've got the captain right here, Captain Jay. Well, actually we got Captain Ray there.
Oh, he's the chef.
There we go.
That's where it's at.
America right there, look at that. It's really sticky. Do you hear that?
I wish he worked this hard on the job site.
We're underway here. And I hope this guy is better at driving than it seems like he is. It's a little windy here. Yeah, it's super windy.
It's low tide, it might be free.
Morning, guys.
Morning.
You ready for some information?
Oh, yeah.
Like, lots of information.
Got your notepad?
I gotta go up and get my notepad. I'll be right back. That's where we stayed.
Okay. All right, so we're passing back by the hotel again?
At the light, turn left onto South Tryon Street.
Now we got it. All right, here we go. 10 years ago, I'd do a burnout right now. Dude, come on, guys.
I said it. We didn't have to spin it out and get in the car. Yeah, that thing. It's so funny that he's
Probably a 4-cylinder. Nope, it's not. We just finished our first session with Jake Bruton, who was the speaker.
Your hair got messed up during that session.
Oh, did it? Sorry.
Somehow. I don't know what happened to you.
I was wearing a hat. That's what it was.
Okay,
yeah.
that explains
I
it.
took it off. So we took some notes, and I was going to run over some things that I thought were interesting in my notes here. So he went over the 4 control layers of a home, basically what you're trying to control getting from the outside of your house to the inside was water, air infiltration, vapor, which these all are kind of intertwined is the problem, and kind of like air infiltration causes the vapor problem, and then thermal control. So some of the things I thought were interesting though was that on a couple of his jobs, he has sprayed down his window assemblies, like once the window is installed, with a garden hose, like high pressure, to make sure there's no water getting through the flashing and whatnot before moving on to the next step of the house.
Right. And he actually did find some, right?
Yeah, I think he said
that were
3
leaking.
out of 8 leaked.
That's a pretty bad ratio there.
Yeah, but I
um,
mean, that's what rain can do. If it's wind driven, is just like, it's like a garden hose against your house. So we don't usually have like pressurized water at that point of the job. But if we did,
I think it's a good idea.
it's a good idea. It's not a bad idea. So then you can fix what you did. He also did this thing where they were doing some sort of a concrete finish on the floor, and he had water on the floor, and he swept the water to the wall plates to see where water ran out, or if it did under the wall plates, and he was able to liquid flash
And it did.
and seal those. And the thought being that if water can get out, then air movement can get in, and if that warm or cold air contacts the air on the inside of your house, which is a way different temperature and humidity, it can condense in the wall cavity, causing liquid water, which can cause rot on a wood wall frame assembly. So
wow, that was a lot to take in, but I think you actually said it.
Yeah,
right.
I was really listening.
I
was like really like
I'm impressed.
taking notes. And a lot of this stuff, is stuff we kind of do intuitively, but not to the degree that they're doing, because they're going for like passive house, where your house with solar actually outputs to the grid. Like you don't pay a power bill, the power company pays you because you actually use so little energy and generate more energy than you're taking in. So it's a cool idea, but the house obviously is going to cost way more to build, and a lot of our clients are not going to spend double. Another thing that I thought was interesting was they were talking about trying to get away from roof penetrations, like period. No roof penetrations through the roofing surface. Like on this building, for instance, behind Jason, I mean, there's like a dozen. You count them off. So those are obviously at a big risk for leaking compared to having no roof penetrations. So they were saying they're going through the wall.
I think it's a good idea if you got a place where it's not visible, but I mean, they say that the little rubber boot, like on your plumbing vents, eventually those get dry rotted and
they
leak.
do. I've seen that.
And that's what we put on all of them.
Yeah.
So if they're all going to leak eventually, you need to put that on your house maintenance plan.
Yeah.
To check them and replace them by putting another little boot over top, I guess.
And actually, that was another interesting thing. Part of the whole house working well for a long time was the owner. Ownership. Like not just like living in the house, but being an owner and maintaining those things that need maintained. I think he had one photo of trees growing out of a gutter, and the owner said that his roof was leaking. And then they checked the gutters and they weren't working.
That could actually be something really cool that you could actually incorporate into when they move in. It's actually like a checklist.
Yeah.
Every 6 months, boom.
Yeah.
Every year,
Ooh.
boom. Every 2 years, boom.
Yeah.
For your homeowner.
Wow. Yeah, JohnO'sHomeMaintaining.com. You got that going?
Property maintenance,
I mean, not just aesthetics, not like just paint it, make
That
it look
sounds
nice.
terrible.
Rahang,
Well, he's
a
saying
little
that
more.
you don't even need some vents. You can
Well, they were
use
saying
other
Studer
things.
vents.
Oh, that's
but
what it is?
so the inspections department, it's like you have to have a physical vent is like in the code. But they're saying, oh well, this bathroom's got to have the physical vent out, but this one over here doesn't have to have it. And he was like, why? Like, why does this bathroom need it and why is this one doesn't?
It has to have it.
It has to have it, exactly.
But it
So-
does not have to go through the roof, is what he said.
Yes.
It's just common that's where we take it out, but it doesn't have to go through the roof.
Right. We talked about French drains and best operations there. One thing interesting was that really a French drain is for groundwater coming up, not so much surface water going down.
Rainwater, yeah.
Rainwater. It shouldn't ever get that far down if you do everything else right. So they were showing the correct placement of a French drain is next to the footing, not above the footing.
Oh,
And-
really?
Yeah, and so...
I missed that.
Yeah, and mostly we do them on top of the footing, tight to the footing, but then we have like gravel and slab, so our slab is above the French drain still. But I would say if we were in a situation where we were that concerned about groundwater coming up, I would say, hey, let's rethink building a house here. All I'm saying is we've never built a house where we dug a hole for the basement and there was water.
Right.
It's always been completely dry or it's been solid rock. So that was interesting.
I think
It's-
their placement of their pipe was different because they use forms.
Yeah.
And so they can dig a hole that's
They're forming.
wider.
They're forming
They
the
pour
footing
their
up.
form and then set it beside it.
Yeah.
Our form is there.
We're ground forming.
We would have to redig beside our slab
Or our footing.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
To
we
get it that low.
We don't do that here in the South, but up north.
There was a lot of talk about different insulation types, and really they weren't in favor of any one particular insulation as long as it was installed properly.
Seemed
and
like they were
carefully.
against the spray foam.
They
more.
were.
Yeah, I was like, whoa,
which,
hey.
Everything I've heard, in the last 10 years is, oh, you should spray foam. You should spray foam. I mean, isn't that what you're hearing?
Oh, yeah.
But now
Yeah,
they're
and all
saying,
my
oh, we
focus
did,
groups-
we're trying to do as little spray foam as possible. And I'm thinking, what has happened? The tables have turned. And from what I understand, maybe an environmental issue or a reason.
It's not
Maybe.
great for the environment.
I don't know, but I'm not going to tell you what else they said is bad for the environment. The one building material that we can't live without.
Concrete.
It's concrete. I watched a video that said is cementitious material, as in cement, as in concrete or other things made from concrete, is the #1 most produced man-made product on Earth.
Really?
By many, 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 many times more than like all the other man-made products put together, like steel for
Wow.
steel buildings or any other
That is crazy.
man-made building material. Cementitious products. I just like that word. Sorry, I'll say it again. Cementitious. Far surpasses any other material.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I'm not aware what exactly the environmental impact is that's bad, but I'm sure it uses a lot of fuel to make it and to deliver it. And I know it uses a lot of different like mining? Like
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
I don't know. We could look into that. Somebody in the comments might be a concrete scientist and they could tell us all about it.
I'm sure they could.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a real thing, I'm sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Cementitious.
Jono's a beer scientist, and luckily we're at a brewery. And what can you tell us about that?
I don't know.
He's a man of few words, you know what I'm saying?
I studied too hard last night.
What's up, guys? It's Saturday morning. It's my birthday. I'm 42 today, so I'm chilling by the Christmas tree. Anyways, I'm checking out the website of today's video sponsor, James Allen, at jamesallen.com, and it's the online destination. Whoa! It's the online destination for a custom engagement ring or a fine piece of jewelry that she'll love. And the best part is it's a lot less money than you'd pay at a brick and mortar store. And if you do have any questions, they offer real-time diamond consultants that are non-commissioned. And they can walk you through the process, educate you on the technical stuff, and answer your questions. And they'll even advise you on how to pop the question if you want, if you need help with that. Yes?
Maybe you should have consulted one of those people.
I was rubbing your feet when I asked you. I mean, I was giving you a foot massage when I asked her. I mean, I thought it was romantic. I don't know. If you're hesitant to buy something like this online instead of in person, I will tell you that the website has amazing three-dimensional pictures of everything and pictures of the jewelry on a real-size person, so you can see the scale. And the 3D stuff is like looking through a microscope at the diamonds and rings. It's like this close. I don't even know if I could get as good a look through a microscope at a diamond. I have bought one in person before. Also, very importantly, their diamonds are certified conflict-free. They also have lab-created diamonds, so you can get a better price for the same specs as an earth-created diamond. This is the giving season, and right now you can customize your engagement ring or jewelry piece at jamesallen.com and get 25% off by clicking the link down in our video description below the video. Thank you, jamesallen.com, for sponsoring our video. If you're getting engaged, good luck. I hope it goes great for you. Let's get back to work.
He's a Christmas kitty. Oh, he fell.
Final thoughts from my notes here with Jake. Something that I thought was pretty smart that I don't know if I've ever done. I guess I've done it unintentionally. Is to walk around your project, like your framing with the roof sheathing on or whatever, in the rain, like the pouring rain, and look at where is the water going. Is there water like running down the walls in any places? Like if you have overhangs on, and like make sure you have kick out flashings based on an actual real world walk around in the pouring rain. It was a pretty great idea, and it's not like that costs any money. Just gets you wet.
And your house design could really dictate that happening, you know,
Yeah.
if you designed it where the roof lines dump out onto another wall assembly. And I learned last year in my CE class that there are no siding materials, zero siding materials that are rated for water flow down the side of your house. It is not a thing that you should ever see or do.
Yes, your overhangs should do the job of not making water go down the face of it. Actually, they were busting on McMansions.
Yeah.
You ever heard that term, McMansion? You can leave in the comments. It's basically this, 10,000 square foot house that looks like a mansion, but you've also condensed the number of roof lines and roof pitches and all the craziness going on to make it look even crazier and like it's bigger because it just has more stuff.
A lot to look at.
Going on, but they're saying there's a lot of those are just like terrible as far as the roofs leaking or water coming off a surface of a roof into a wall and leaking and having major problems. So a lot of these passive homes or energy efficient homes are not at all designed like that. They're like one pitch roof or two low pitch roofs. Just like simple design is way better as far as the house lasting a long time.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily for cost, which that is a cost savings to not be all chopped up. Well, that's what we can say to people now.
I'm glad because I've told that to people for years. I'm like, all those roof lines, that's looking for a problem. And they're like, well, I think you're just saying that because you don't want to build it. But no, it's real. It's McMansionitis.
And by the way, I'm not it. I'm walking around the house in the rain.
That's your new job.
No way.
Hey, yo, Jay, here's a rain slick.
No, I'm spraying windows.
You can take pictures.
He's a new walk-around guy right there. Arlo, he's not here. That's his job. Arlo.
Yep. So we're on lunch. Then we're back for what's the guy's name? Steve Basic.
Oh, really?
He's an architect. Dude, this thing is awesome. This is Matt, who watches our show, but more importantly, his son, who's how old? 4, is a real carpenter. He's got a speed square. He's got a hammer. What else? Look at that.
Demo in a window.
Demo in a window.
This whole tube kit.
Wow.
Milwaukee.
Jono likes that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, tell your little man we said what's up. Thanks for watching.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah. We're now listening to Steve Basic, who's an architect, and we've seen like a dozen or more architectural drawings of passive homes and stuff like that he's explaining everything about the drawings, which is really cool.
2x10, 2x12, non-truss. So this is a passive house inspired project. You can see our double wall.
How'd you guys enjoy those architectural drawings?
Man, it was awesome. I was super digging all those drawings, especially with the details, with the insulation.
Man, I was on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, you were on the back edge of your seat. Not the
Jono's over here texting us. What's his text say?
His text message sound is a fart.
No.
It was over. It was quiet as all get out. He sits over.
I text John, I said, are you bored out of your mind yet? And he texted us.
You missed an opportunity. You should have typed it B-O-A-R-D. Are you bored?
Oh, I missed that one.
I thought it was interesting. I like drawings. A ton. I like drawings a lot.
Just have to ask him if he can go over all that again.
I missed a little bit of it.
One of the most interesting things he said was that up north where they build,
Yeah.
Northeast United States, U.S., they cannot ground form footings or foundations, which is what we do here. We dig a trench and we put steel elevated, then we pour the concrete in the ground. That's our footing. They cannot do that there because of upheaval, I think. They don't want the dirt to be like formed around the footing. They want the footing to be like smooth and slick on the sides. So
I actually saw
we're a
that.
bunch of prima donnas, I think is what he said.
I think he said prima donnas that don't want to get mud on our shoes.
Yeah. So that's,
No, I think he
here
said
it's totally
they're a
fine.
bunch of
Oh, they're
prima-
prima
they're
donnas
prima
because it has to be
donnas 'cause it has to
fancier.
be fancy.
We had a framing crew that didn't want to get dirty, so they had to do a slab
Oh, just for him, yeah.
just for them.
It's tougher up north where you got the deep freeze in your soil, like going down 4 feet, where here it's like that much. So it's way different. So the architect, Steve Basic, who we just listened to, is a contributor to like Fine Home Building, JLC, and so was Jake.
You know what
So-
JLC stands for?
I don't know if I know.
It's the Journal of Light Construction.
Oh, so it's not heavy construction. That would be like
That'd
commercial.
be probably JHC, I think.
Anyways, one of the things I really thought was interesting that he said, and I actually wrote a note about it, was value engineering, which is builders like us taking the structural drawings from an architect and wanting to change them to whatever would cost less, but sort of get the same thing done. So it's like boiling it down to what's really important as far as like the insulation value or the whatever kind of water problems you might have, and just making it cost less than the way that the architect designed it, which sometimes could be really expensive. So we've been doing that for decades, I would say, taking the drawings and being like, all right, like I see this, I see that, but it's gonna cost a ton. We could do this and it'd be like pretty much as good, but half the price. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, you can leave a comment what you think about that. I think if you have an experienced builder who's seen like the aftermath of doing some value engineering and whether it worked or not.
So I think the comparison was that an architect is like the writer of a story, and the builder is like the reader of the story. But if it's written in like maybe some kind of language that's really fancy, like maybe some kind of what's the guy, Shakespeare? If you can't read Shakespearean, well, then you're not going to enjoy the story very much, or you're not going to understand it. So we need it to be written out and drawn out in a way that we can understand what we actually need to do with this and how to build it, right?
Yeah. Or we just need to know more.
Or we just need to know what the gist of the story is, and then we write our own story.
That's the value.
That's the
engineering.
value engineering. We just take the...
I would say generally architects frown upon that unless you involve them in the process of the value engineering.
Sure, and your homeowner might frown on that too if they paid a whole bunch of money to their architect and you say to throw all that out and then we're just going to do something different.
Yeah, it's all give and take. It's all give and take.
I think you're more like a building preacher. People can't understand the book, so they have someone show you and tell you the story.
Interpreting it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Sorry you can't read all this mumbo jumbo, but I'm going to tell you about it. There you go. I don't understand the Bible.
Deep thoughts with Jono.
Wow, it got real deep real quick.
Well, he's talking about Shakespeare. I just went into the Bible.
I will say that Steve's drawings have tons of rigid insulation everywhere. Like I saw one that had 10 inches below the slab of rigid, like foam boards, like layers, like 3 layers of 3.5 inch below slab, which we don't do here.
I'll say one thing too. I think as builders, you can't take anything for granted because he did mention that he had plans and the builders so used to building 16 on centers. He built all the walls 16 on centers, but they're actually 2 foot on centers. And there was actually 24 times or 18 times in the thing. It said 24 inch, but they just figured I used to building 16, I'll build 16. So they just like didn't think about it.
Didn't really read that part.
Yeah, they're like, oh, it's probably just the same way we did the last one, which it may not be. So it's paying attention to the details.
What's up, guys?
What's going on, man?
Oh, we're just having deep thoughts with Jamie out here about everything he
How's
said.
that work with Jamie?
You won't find out what he said until you watch the video.
In 30 seconds, I had to summarize your whole 4-hour speech. You know? So what does it come down to? That's really...
Yeah, it was mostly me laughing at my own jokes.
I liked all the jokes about your kids and stuff, talking about.
They're true, too.
Yeah, that was fun. What's up? Hey, I'm just going for a run. What are you doing?
Yeah, me too. All right, 9:27 mile pace here, so
Okay.
that should be fine.
That's good for beginner runners.
Yeah.
We better pick it up a little bit.
Jono's calling this marionette bowling because they like puppets. Oh, nice shot, Ray. Ooh, you glanced it. You just scared it. We just finished our last session here at BSN Beer because we got to get back to Western North Carolina. We have some obligations, so we're gonna miss the afternoon session. So our session this morning was mainly about HVAC, like how heat pumps operate and the new technology around them. There was some pretty interesting things. What you got?
Well, something that I learned is that modern high-efficiency heat pumps do less dehumidification than old school low-efficiency heat pumps.
Yeah,
so
like ton less.
Yeah, way less. So just because you're running your air conditioner a lot nowadays when it's muggy outside doesn't mean it's going to dry your air as good as you might want it to.
Yeah, and your air is going to run less now than it did before as well if it's a new house because of tighter enclosures.
Yeah.
So that coupled with the less dehumidification equals your house is way more humid. So we were talking about whole house dehumidification and the way that would work as a pretty good option to solve a problem that we didn't used to have. With all that said, you probably learned nothing, but hopefully you enjoyed watching.
If you're still listening to him at this point, you probably learned nothing.
I don't know. I just say like 5 tacos. Let's be honest. I'm about to black out right now.
Thanks to the fans that came out to visit.
Oh yeah. Hey, we did have some fans come meet us at Penn Mechanical Co. last night.
We had Adam,
Yep.
Matt, Wes,
Wes,
and Teo.
And Christoph.
And Krista, can't forget Christoph. So thank you guys for coming to hang out with us.
Thanks for joining us on our trip, and I'll give you my final 2 cents on this whole high-performance building thing. And again, I've been a builder since I was 10 years old, we'll call it. I was on a job site with my dad, and so I've had a lot of experience building houses and doing things, and I think high-performance building is the way forward. We've just got to figure out a way to make it not so cost-prohibitive for most people. Most people are looking at the payback period. Okay, if I spend an extra 20 grand on my heat system so it's more efficient, how long does it take me to regain that money that I've spent to where I break even? And for most people in the US, It doesn't ever happen is the problem, because the average time a person lives in a house or owns a house, I think, is 7 years if my facts are straight. So if you spend an extra 30 grand on something, it's probably not going to pay back in 7 years by the time you move and leave that house, and your house probably will not be that much more valuable when it comes time to sell it, because a lot of people aren't as concerned with high performance buildings, saving energy, because energy is really pretty cheap here compared to some European countries and other places in the world. With all of that said, I think there's a couple things that pretty much any builder could do to any house to make it more high performance without much extra cost. And that's good air sealing, like making sure the envelope of the house doesn't have huge holes in it that let hot or cold air just come into the inside space of your house. And the last thing is just making sure that structures are lasting a long time, like good flashing details to make sure that stuff doesn't prematurely fail. And that's high performance because it's good for the environment if the materials we're using last and stay put for a long time. Thanks for building with us today, and thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.